did this not intentionally, but I feel like I've been coming a lot to English 3, so I was glad to get to come in the car, just to see how things are going in both classes. I know you guys met recently to talk through car, like with Laveau and Holly and Melissa. Have we talked about that? How is your planning going for car based on that conversation y'all had?
It's going better now because I feel like there's more clarity around like what they want that class to be. Like I feel like I was just kind of thrown in and it was like, oh, it's kind of this and kind of that. The kids need to learn how to read. And I was like, okay, great. Like, but it's better now because I know like, hey, we're going to be doing Achieve like 3 days a week instead of just the 2 to make sure they have like their scores that they need. So that's helpful because that means all Wednesdays there's really no planning involved. It's just like picking the article and they're just self-paced, which I think is going to be better on like management and better for them. Plus they'll get a little extra time on that article that day, which they like. So anyway, so that's kind of takes care of Wednesday. And then Monday and Friday we started a project that I've been meaning to start. Melissa has kind of worked with that. So based on doing about like a 10-15 minute do now, then they start their Achieve. And then they have like work time on the project. So basically there's 11 days until 11 Mondays and Thursdays or whatever.
Right.
So I just broke it up into 11 tiny pieces that they could turn in one at a time.
Cool.
And trying to like time that because the first chunk that I did was like too big, but it's okay. So having that plan of like, hey, this is at least I know what we're doing for like pretty much till the end of the semester. So that's been really, I feel like it's a weight off now. I just kind of know, now I can focus on like, hey, I need to talk to this student about their scores. And then before I was like, I just gotta like figure out what's going on in here, you know. So that is good, and Melissa and I are meeting later today.
Good.
To talk about that. The other thing that's helped is like when we got the data back, they were frustrated that it seemed like some kids were taking too long to get logged on and stuff like that. So once I realized that was going on, like now I have them take 5 minutes. This is after our do now, and they have 5 minutes to get logged on to do the poll question, which is like whatever. And so that's been really helpful because I can go around and see like this person still isn't even like their computer is barely open.
Right.
And so make sure they're on, and then we talk about it for like 3 to 5 minutes depending on interest. And then they know they have 30 minutes to finish. So that's been really helpful too with making sure kids are on. I guess I don't anticipate those problems yet because I always think they're like just gonna get on and do it. And it's like, why did I not know that like of course they're not gonna do that? Like, you know, not all of them are like, oh, I want to do well and I want to do this. So anyway,
Well,
it's been much better.
I'm glad to hear that you have more clarity on that because there's nothing worse than having a class and not knowing like what you're supposed to be teaching and just kind of pulling it out of a hat. So it sounds like that structure is going to be good for you as a planner.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to be able to come back and see maybe more project work time, and now that I know that'll be toward the end of class, that'll definitely be something I look for because that sounds really interesting. I'm sure that the kids are interested in it too. I hope they are.
Yeah.
Good. Well, when I came in, I saw some really, really great stuff. Last week we were talking through just the way that you correct misbehaviors and whether, you know, you do one of those moves that we were talking about, especially the private individual correction, which I saw several times, which I thought was great. In my notes I looked back, you made a private individual correction at least 5 times during the first 15 minutes of class, and the 2 that stood out to me, one was a nonverbal. You were, I think, asking someone to sit up, and you did it from across the room. I think it was like Rhea or something, and so you, instead of speaking to her, you gestured for her what you wanted to do, and she did it. And then a couple of times you also, while you were circulating, would like go down to the student's level and whisper what you wanted them to do. which I thought was a great private individual correction because it was just one-on-one, like the two of you. You told them quickly what to do, and then you just moved on and you're circulating. So I thought that those were really effective ways to redirect negative student behaviors in the first 15 minutes of class without wasting their time or like the class's time at all. So really nice work with that. Thinking a little bit more about corrections in class, I want to hear from you a little bit about, like, have you thought about the whisper correction? Like, are you doing that at a certain time on purpose, or when would you think is the appropriate time to use whisper corrections like you have been?
Well, if I'm circulating, I feel like it's easy to do a whisper or just like pointing to what they're supposed to be on.
Right.
So like anytime I'm not giving direct instruction, I try to do like personal whisper corrections. But if I'm giving directions at the front of the class, like I can't do that. Well, not as much. I've been using the mouse to like circulate better,
Right.
but that makes me kind of crazy.
Right.
So I've been trying to be circulating while I'm giving instruction, but sometimes it doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
So anyway, so probably when I'm in the front of the class, I move to kind of just like, I'm going to call your name so you know. Or like I've been trying to do more, okay, I'm still waiting on 5 people, 4 people.
Right. Which is the group correction, which is one
Right.
of those things we talked about and it's really good.
Yeah, so I've been trying to do that more, but they're just not as responsive to that. Like, I don't know if it's because I have been calling names and now I'm like trying to kind of come back on that, but like they'll be like I'm just still gonna do what I like want to do. So I guess that just takes more time, but it may be more effective. So I think if I keep doing it, they'll probably become more responsive. But like I'll have to still walk over to them and be like, put your computer down, put your headphones away, or
As like a follow-up to the first correction. Okay. So you're finding that like that one-on-one is more effective in getting the results you want?
I think the one-on-one is most effective, but it's like if it's keeping you from teaching, then it's not the most effective. So
Right, because it's natural to have times in your lesson where you're going to be in front instructing, and
Right.
like you said, if you're circulating all the time
Mhm.
during that, it can make you kind of crazy. And I think circulating is one of your strengths, like you're always moving around the classroom, and that's a really positive thing, but it is okay to say like, right now, I'm in the front, I'm instructing, I can't walk around right now. But I do think there's something that we can work on to help those quick upfront
right.
whole class corrections be more effective, because the whisper and the one-on-one is going really well. So if I'm thinking about what I saw on Monday when you were correcting whole class, I want to make sure I communicate this right, because there's one thing you're doing really, really well that I don't want you to change, and that's your like tone with students when you're talking to them one-on-one. Like it's very conversational, it's very approachable, and they respond to that. Like they like that because it establishes a positive relationship, and I want you to keep doing that.
Okay.
But sometimes when you're in front of the class, your whole class, and you're trying to make a quick correction to either like a large part of the class or the whole class in general, I think that using a stronger voice and like switching to that stronger voice just for the expectation or redirection could be really powerful.
Okay.